Well, when you add this latest deployment of 1,800 US troops to the other deployments that have been made over the course of this month, it brings to 3,000 number of additional US forces that have been deployed here to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in the past month alone. So that's a significant ratcheting up of the US presence here. And I think it's designed to send a very powerful message that, first of all, the United States considers the security of Saudi Arabia to be the utmost importance. And it sends an additional message that it will continue to sort of flow in US personnel and forces, even at times when it's pulling out forces from other parts of the Middle East, in order to back up Saudi Arabia and to bolster its defences as this escalating tension continues between Saudi Arabia and its big regional rival Iran. Of course, this announcement coming on the heels of the latest incident off the coast of Saudi Arabia, in which an Iranian oil tanker about 60 miles, 96 kilometres or so from the Saudi port of Jeddah was attacked by two missiles. Now, initially, the Iranian tanker company pointed the finger of blame squarely at Saudi Arabia, saying the missiles had been launched from there. But later, the Iranian authorities clawed back on that, mindful perhaps of the fact that pointing the finger of blame like that could severely ratchet up tensions. But, I mean, clearly, given that incident and all the other incidents that we've been witnessing in this region over the past several weeks and months, it was just last month, for instance, that Saudi's oil facilities were attacked, cutting its oil production by a half for several weeks. They're only now getting them back online, an attack which the US blamed on Iran, essentially, for carrying out. You can see that the escalation of tension in this region is really ratcheting up, and that's of deep concern, not just to the players here, but also to Washington as well. Matthew Chance, CNN, Riyadh.
Let's get back to the situation in northern Syria and video which shows ISIS family members attempting to escape the Al-Hol camp for displaced people. It's a complicated strand in the chaos that's currently engulfing the region. US officials say there are around 11,000 to 12,000 ISIS fighters in prisons in Syria. 2,000 of them are foreigners, not from Syria or Iraq. Now that the Kurds who were guarding those prisoners are busy fighting off the Turkish offensive, it's raising fears that the terror group could metastasize. And if to underscore that point, ISIS claimed responsibility for a car bomb in Syria today that killed 4 people. The US seems to have grasped the potential problem. US President Donald Trump tweeting that the so-called Beatles members of the British ISIS cell had been moved to Iraq. But then Mr. Trump dismissed the overall threat. He says because they wouldn't want to go back to Europe.
Well, they're going to be escaping to Europe. That's where they want to go. They want to go back to their homes, but Europe didn't want them from us. We could have given it to them. They could have had trials. They could have done whatever they wanted. But as usual, it's not reciprocal. You know my favorite word, reciprocal. That's all I want. I don't want an edge. I just want reciprocal.
We've been warning about this for years. And now see what's happening. The Turkey sweeps in. There's a danger of these foreign fighters disappearing in nature. We don't know if like a new forces coming into these areas, ISIS might be able to exploit this, this change of hands from one force to another to pay bribes and leave and so on and so forth. The other question is what to do with these forces. I think once different countries take in these foreign fighters and try to deal with them with their legal system, then it becomes a question of how to make sure that they don't go back and become a danger. But they are, as currently, as the situation currently stands, they are a danger.
This, the scene from a powerful typhoon that just made landfall in Japan, and it is causing a great deal of damage there. Heavy rain and strong wind have sent waves crashing onto the shore. In one area, at least one person was killed, 33 others injured when a tornado touched down. Several parts of that country are under the highest weather warning. More than 900,000 people are under an evacuation order. CNN is live in the middle of it all in Tokyo with our Paula Hancock. Paula, tell us about what you're feeling, seeing, and experiencing right now.
Well, George, that emergency weather warning has now spread as a dozen prefectures or districts in Japan have now been put under that highest level, all the towns and cities within those prefectures as well. And they're adding extra districts that are further north of Tokyo in anticipation of the typhoon moving through the capital and to the northeast. Now, we do know that almost 1 million people at this point are under an evacuation order. There's about 6 million that are under an evacuation advisory. It has made landfall, and clearly people are seeing and feeling the effects of this typhoon. It is expected to bring unprecedented rain, according to the JMA, the Japanese Met Agency, and they've said that that is really one of their biggest concerns, the sheer amount of water that is going to be around. Yes, the gusts will be very dangerous. They are telling residents, and they want everybody to stay indoors, but they're also saying that the amount of rainfall is going to be a great concern. One river in the region has already flooded. There's half a dozen more that are on level 4 at this point, the second highest level, which means that they are liable to flood at any moment. So certainly that is one of the greatest concerns at this point, George.
A surreal and terrifying scene at Saddle Tree Ranch in Sylmar last night. As whipping winds drove flames onto the ranch, 40 frantic horses were facing a life and death situation. CBS 2 photojournalist Jacob Jenkins captured these panicked moments as the horses galloped across the property. Ranch staff only had minutes to get control of the frightened horses. Alejo Morales was here when the fire broke out.
I went to get some sodas down at the liquor store, and when I came up, I saw big smoke.
The staff jumped into action, but the inferno was overwhelming.
No matter how good you're prepared, which we had plans on how to get in and how to get out in case of a fire, but the fire, like he mentioned, it was just too fast.
Alejo posted an emergency message on social media to get help with evacuations. The response was immediate.
We had a lot of friends that came through and helped us, and we just started getting phone calls, and everybody just started, just piling up and getting horses.
We had big trailers, so we got horses in and out.
Incredibly, all of the animals were safely evacuated.
I want to thank like I said, the whole community for helping us out. They really came through for us.
Is Rudy Giuliani still President Trump's lawyer? The president was asked a direct question on the White House lawn, and he wouldn't say yes.
Well, I don't know. I haven't spoken to Rudy. I spoke to him yesterday briefly. He's a very good attorney, and he has been my attorney.
The president saying, I don't know it. Everybody's scratching their heads. So is Rudy Giuliani still his lawyer or not? Well, tonight a source is telling CNN that, yes, Giuliani is still President Trump's lawyer, but won't be handling matters involving Ukraine. And it's not hard to see why. Giuliani getting too hot to touch with the arrest and indictments this week of his 2 associates who were helping him try to dig up dirt on Joe Biden in Ukraine. But now they are charged with violating campaign finance laws, accused of funneling foreign money into U.S. elections. And to make matters worse for Giuliani, the 2 men were arrested while trying to board a flight to Europe with one-way tickets. And Giuliani himself is a subject of that federal investigation. Just moments ago, the New York Times reporting he is being investigated for breaking lobbying laws in his dealings with Ukraine. The president immediately putting distance between himself and Rudy following those arrests.
I don't know those gentlemen. I don't know. Maybe they were clients of Rudy. You'd have to ask Rudy. I just don't know. I haven't spoken to Rudy about it. I don't know. I will say this, from what I heard, I just heard about this. They said, we have nothing to do with it. We have nothing to do with it.
Like I said, Rudy's getting too hot to touch.
Are you concerned that Giuliani will be indicted in all of this?
Well, I hope not.
Getting too hot to touch. One source telling us that Rudy is still Trump's lawyer, but we have to wonder how long that'll last. For how long? For the second time in his presidency, a personal attorney for Donald Trump is under investigation. The first, of course, was Michael Cohen, Trump's longtime attorney and fixer, who is now in federal prison. When Cohen flipped on Trump, the president couldn't get far enough away. Here's how he downplayed Cohen's role in 2018 to Fox and Friends.
But isn't his
sometimes
business your attorney, Mr.
Well, I
President?
have many, just so you understand, I have many attorneys. I have attorneys, sadly, I have so many attorneys you wouldn't even believe it.
How much
Michael
of
is
your,
somebody,
Mr. President, how much of your legal work was handled by Michael Cohen?
Well, as a percentage of my overall legal work, a tiny, tiny little fraction. But Michael would represent me on some things. He represents me, like with this crazy Stormy Daniels deal. He represented me, and, from what I see, he did absolutely nothing wrong.
Well, we'll see how much longer Giuliani stays on as Trump's attorney. This is just one element in a bad day, in a bad week, a very bad day, and a very bad week for President Trump as the impeachment inquiry picks up steam.